The votes have been cast. The results are being counted. Tonight, in communities across Louisiana and around the nation, voters are electing leaders that will impact your future. This is Commitment 2022, election night coverage on WDSU.
All right, well, people across the country made their way to the polls today, casting votes in what experts have been calling one of the most important midterm elections of our time.
And in play, many driving factors steering voters to the polls, but specifically inflation and the economy. Tonight, we have team coverage on several big races in Southeast Louisiana. Multiple Republican incumbents have already been projected as winners, securing their seats for another term.
Voters in Plaquemines Parish appear to have cast their ballots in favor of change.
WDSU's Eli Brand joins us live from Port Sulphur, where one of the candidates were talking. But right now we are going to go to U.S. Senator Kennedy. He has been projected as the winner here. He is approaching the podium right now to give his victory speech again for a second term. There he is. Let's listen to what he has to say.
And the people of Louisiana are star-spangled awesome. I think about 87% of the vote is in. We're at 65%. I don't... the appropriate members of the media and officialdom have called the race. So I wanted to come out. These numbers take my breath away. I just, they take my breath away. Thank you, Louisiana. Thank you, Louisiana. God bless you. And I'm proud to be.
All right, U.S. Senator John Kennedy coasting to victory there as expected. He gave a very passionate and heartfelt victory speech there, thanking all his supporters, family, his wife, his son, hugging them and being humorous at times. But also he read the names of all his 12 challengers. He beat out a very crowded field of opponents, giving all of them acknowledgement, acknowledging all those who supported him throughout this campaign. And also one important note, I believe it's a record, breaking $40 million, raising $40 million during this campaign. His challengers, I believe, only raised about $1 or $2 million each. Couldn't compete with that war chest.
All right, from the Senate race to the congressional races, another GOP candidate securing another term in office. We're talking about Congressman Steve Scalise. He is the projected winner in the House District 1 race. WDSU's Daryl Forges is live from the Scalise camp. Daryl, how's the congressman weighing in on what would be his 7th term?
Yeah, Gina, Scalise just wrapped up talking to the crowd here in Dragos and Metairie just about an hour or so ago. And Scalise was a heavy favorite when it comes to this race. I'm going to go ahead and show you the results now from this race. At last check, he received over 70% of the vote. That's the same amount he received in recent elections. Now, he, again, you said, Gina, winning his 7th term for this district. Now, Scalise ran on issues like the economy, inflation, and high gas prices. I spoke with the congressman earlier, and here's what he had to say about his victory.
The voters of Southeast Louisiana have been great to me. I've enjoyed fighting for them in Washington, getting to do that again for another 2 years, and hopefully in a majority where we can move an agenda that really focuses on things that are good for our district. Energy is something Louisiana knows how to produce. Our country needs it. It's really important for our coastal restoration. So I've been talking about that a lot at the national level. Hopefully we'll be able to move bills that lower the cost of things for families, produce more energy here to lower the price of gas at the pump, and then helps Louisiana's economy at the same time.
Now, Scalise, his night is not over. It's far from over. In fact, he's going to keep a close eye on the other races all across the country tonight. He told me earlier that he actually campaigned in 70 districts for his fellow Republican counterparts in hopes of them winning their race, because he is a minority whip. He's second in line in the Republican Party in the House, and if they can go ahead and get that majority, he would end up possibly being the House Majority Leader. Live in Metairie, Daryl Forges, WDSU News.
All right, Daryl, thank you so much for that. Another race we've been watching closely is the one in Plaquemines Parish for president. An upset down there. Kirk Lapine gave his concession speech about an hour ago. There are two candidates who are going to the runoff. We'll tell you who they are after the break.
All right, as we go to break, here's a look at some of the other big races that we are covering tonight.
You're watching Commitment 2022, election night coverage on WDSU.
It's not over. It may be over for tonight, but our life has begun, and we will make Plaquemines stronger because of what we do together. My commitment to you, my commitment to Plaquemines Parish, is to always put Plaquemines first. I'm born and raised here. My kids live here now, and I want my grandkids to live here. I want that. I want that to be a place where everyone can call home, and that's Plaquemines Parish.
All right, down in Plaquemines Parish, the major ballot item was the race for parish president, as you just heard. Kirk Lapine speaking. With a majority of precincts reporting tonight the incumbent, Kirk Lapine has fallen short of the votes needed to secure his seat.
WDSU's Cassie Sherm joins us from the watch party of one of the men headed to the runoff to replace Lapine, Keith Hinckley. Cassie.
That's right, Gina. There's a lot of excitement here as Keith Hinckley is in the running at 28% in the polls, and you guys can see people are celebrating here, surrounding the TV. A lot of excitement. Now, it's not over just yet. Right behind him is Roussel, who will be in the runoff with Hinckley. Now, Hinckley has served 8 years on the council from 2007 to 2014 and has an eye on improving public areas in the parish. Hinckley says one of the main reasons he has run for this position was for his family and the families of the parish, because more needs to be done.
The only way I could see that happen is if I subject myself to this to move this parish forward. It's been an idle for the last 7 years, so it's time to get aggressive and move forward.
WDSU's Cassie Sherm joins us.
Now, Hinckley says starting tomorrow he's going to get back to work and keep pushing forward, and you guys can see an excited crowd back behind me here. So there's a lot of excitement in it. The race, though, is not over just yet, and we're going to continue to follow it here on air and online at WDSU.com. Back to you guys.
All right, Cassie, two people in the runoff for Plaquemines Parish president. She was just with one of them, Mr. Hinckley, but we have Eli Brand also in Plaquemines Parish with the other person in the runoff tonight.
Yeah, what's that watch party looking like, and what did he tell you, Eli?
That's right. We're all the way down here in Port Sulphur. They've actually already done their celebration and headed home. But, guys, this might be the shock of the night. Let me give you a few of these numbers. Obviously, like you heard, Kirk Lapine, the incumbent, did not make this runoff. He came in third place, but it actually was a lot closer than that. He was 41 votes away and 0.5 percentage points away from coming in last in this place to the Democrat that was also challenging these other three Republicans to make it to a runoff for this race. Let me tell you a bit about Benny Roussel, too, though. He used to be the parish president here. He was parish president when Hurricane Katrina made landfall here in Plaquemines Parish all the way back in 2005. So he has done this job before. I managed to be able to speak to him just a little bit earlier about what his reaction was to making this and what his reaction was to Kirk Lapine not making it.
Yeah, well, Kirk's a good guy, you know, and he really is likable. I think that we will be able to work with Kirk and get a lot of the supporters come our way. And, you know, like I said, I work with Kirk now, and I look forward to the runoff. Obviously, the people of Plaquemines wanted to change, and that's why Mr. Lapine, I guess, did make the runoff. So what I offer is experience, education, and knowledge of what to do and when the job needs to be done, and they know that I do the job because I've done it before.
Like you heard right there, the former parish president, very confident he can get the supporters of the current parish president to come over to his side for that runoff election. We'll be there when it happens. We'll bring you those updates when that comes in mid-December. For now, reporting live from Plaquemines Parish, Eli Brand, WDSU News. Back to you.
All right, Eli, thank you. Lots to talk about when it comes to the races and all the returns coming in tonight.
Yeah, let's talk to our commentators joining us live in the studio. They've been with us all night. Travers Mackle is standing by with them with more. Travers?
Yeah, Republican Jay Batt, also Jason Hughes from the State Democratic Party. First off, shocker in Plaquemines Parish. Let's get both of your take on this. When an incumbent, somebody like that, loses and almost finishes last.
Well, I think it's the biggest surprise thus far tonight. Everyone that I spoke to in Plaquemine Parish leading up to this evening expected the incumbent to at least be in the runoff. The fact that he was only about 40 votes from last place says a lot.
Yeah. Is there anything you can put your finger on? You know Benny Roussel going to the runoff because you were serving as a councilman in New Orleans when he was the former Plaquemines Parish president.
I've known him for a while, but Lapine coming in third place, almost fourth place last, is indeed shocking. How in the heck, and we can't put our finger, we were talking earlier, we can't figure out how in the heck this could have happened. We haven't seen anything that he's done. He hasn't been indicted. He hasn't had a target letter. And lo and behold, this happens?
Yeah.
I bet you he's just shaking his head tonight.
Yeah, Ida impacted that parish greatly. Obviously, he had some businesses leave, but nonetheless, I mean...
That wasn't his fault.
No, I was going to say a lot of that you can't really hang on him. Let's pivot back to the national races here. A question we wanted to ask you all here. 20 years ago, Mary Landrieu won 20-plus parishes in 2002 in a Senate race, then again in 2008. This time, John Kennedy just sailed back into re-election. In the last 20 years, we'll start with you again, Mr. Hughes. In the last 20 years, why has Louisiana gone more red than blue?
Well, Louisiana has become a conservative state, but when you look at the 2008 landscape, Mary Landrieu was the incumbent, number one. Number two, Barack Obama was at the top of the ballot, and so high Democratic turnout. But Mary had a lot of seniority at that time, the Appropriations Committee, Energy Committee, and the incoming chair of the Small Business Committee. So she had a record to run on. And ironically, her opponent was John Kennedy.
Right.
And he ran a very weak campaign.
And then why do you think in the last 20 years, Mr. Batt, that we've seen this flip from what was essentially a blue dog Democrat state to now it's hyper-red John Kennedy just easily defeated every opponent?
Well, a couple of fronts. First and foremost, I believe it was a PAC that was formed by some well-heeled Louisiana businessmen that funded the grassroots campaign to get out and register Republicans in our state. That's number one. Number two, I believe the evangelical movement has pushed it across our state as well. And if you look at our state and the rest of the Deep South, other than Georgia recently, it has been pretty red for the last 20 years.
Yeah. All right, we're going to delve more into this in a little bit. These guys are going to be here for the entire hour. Gina, Sulla, let's send it back to you. We'll be dissecting more of these races coming up during this newscast.
Yeah, we appreciate them staying with us and hanging on with us all throughout the night. Their comments definitely insightful and interesting.
All right, not just races on the ballot tonight, also several very important amendments. As we go to break, here's a look at the results on those amendments so far.
Amendment 2022, election night coverage on WDSU.
Welcome back to our coverage of some of the biggest races on the ballot. Incumbent Troy Carter also secured another 2 years in Washington.
And Gina, he easily defeated Republican challenger Dan Lux to hold on to his seat representing Louisiana's 2nd Congressional District. WDSU's Morgan Lentis live at the Now Celebration Party for Carter. Morgan?
Hey, ladies, yeah, so Troy Carter likely suspected he would be reelected, but that didn't stop him from making a commitment to the people of Louisiana's 2nd Congressional District, promising to continue to work hard for them. So he will return to Washington after serving 18 months as congressman. He filled the seat vacated by Cedric Richmond, who left to join the Biden administration at the time. Now, Carter told supporters tonight he will always put them first, promising to focus on quality of life issues like health care and early childhood education, in addition to pressing issues like inflation and crime. He also addressed the possibility of Republicans gaining a majority in the House of Representatives.
Rather the Democrats hold control when we wake up tomorrow or not, the task is still the same. That's right. Govern, lead, and take care of the people. Amen. And that's what we're going to do. And we're going to do it together.
And Troy Carter ended his acceptance speech tonight saying that he is excited to get back to work for Louisiana starting tomorrow morning. Reporting live in New Orleans, I'm Morgan Lentis, WDSU News.
All right, Morgan, thank you. As we are covering the returns tonight, we should mention the results are scrolling at the bottom of your screen. Another big race we've been covering, the battle over former State Senator Karen Carter Peterson's New Orleans-based state Senate seat, and it has certainly been a heated race.
That's right. Once they were political allies, State Representatives Royce Duplessis and Mandy Landry, they have been taking shots at each other on the campaign trail as they compete for this coveted district. WDSU's Elizabeth Kubel has been following this race for us. Elizabeth?
Yes, and we are checking in right now with you from Duplessis headquarters, where a lot of his supporters here too are watching those numbers very closely. I want to give you an update on the latest numbers that we have right now from the Secretary of State's office. The latest that I have seen is 100 of 117 precincts reporting, with Representative Duplessis at 52% of the vote and Representative Landry at 48% of the vote here. And again, as you mentioned, just a little background about this seat is that it was previously held by former State Senator Karen Carter Peterson. She abruptly resigned in April, citing a gambling addiction, and later pled guilty to a federal wire fraud charge linked to her campaign spending. I would say that things here back at Duplessis headquarters have really become energized within the last 5 minutes here, so we will continue checking in with you here.
All right, Elizabeth, looks like quite the party there at the moment.
Yeah, that is going to be a really close race, so we will be monitoring that all night long for you. So joining us live in the studio are two political commentators. We have a Democrat and Republican in the House with us in the studio. Gentlemen, before Travers asks you, I wanted to ask you about this race. State Senate District 5, a very coveted district, a lively and dynamic area, but the two candidates were so similar. At this point, what sets them apart, and how do voters decide at this point who I'm going to vote for, because they have similar platforms, similar ideas, and similar agenda?
Well, Sully, you're right. I mean, they have very similar voting records and not much separates them. But Mandy Landry took a really big gamble. She ran a one-issue campaign, and that was abortion and women's rights. When you look at Royce Duplessis, he ran on multiple issues, and the biggest theme of his campaign is that he can work with everyone to deliver results. We're going to see at the end of the day, it's still close, but whose strategy pays off.
Yeah, and who loses is going back to the State House to be your colleague.
They'll be sitting with me.
And Royce has proven that over the years, that he can work with everybody.
Did the Republican Party, there's no Republican in this race, did the Republican Party endorse either one of these two?
They endorsed Royce Duplessis.
Okay.
And I might add, regarding Mandy versus Royce, that Mandy has had her time in the sun, but she was taking a leap. And as Jason said, a one-issue campaign just isn't going to cut it.
Yeah.
Personalities also come into play a bit when they're so similar on paper.
And look, this is one of the most important Senate districts in Louisiana. Just to lay this out for everybody watching, it's got the Superdome, the arena, the convention center, and the business corridor, Port and Canal of the city of New Orleans. It's vital in Baton Rouge.
I mean, look, no disrespect to any other senator or Senate district, but it is probably the most important Senate district in terms of our economy in the state of Louisiana.
I'm sure you feel the same way.
Absolutely. One other thing I wanted to add is that character played a huge role in this election when people made their choices based on Karen Carter Peterson's, fraud and embezzlement issues, going to jail.
Yeah, no. Well, she's going to be sentenced here. We'll see if it's jail or probation. It's going to be a big decision, but she's about to be sentenced in about a month here. Really quickly, before we let you all go, any surprises here in Louisiana? We talked about this during some of our cut-ins, but is there any, besides the Plaquemines Parish President race, and we'll see what happens with Duplessis and Landry, but any surprises from the State Democratic Party here in our area?
The only surprise for me is that John Kennedy raised $40 million, and he only took 65% of the vote. When you raise that kind of money, you need to break 70%, so that's a surprise for me.
And you're hoping that he can go back and hopefully work across party lines?
We need him to step up and actually be a United States Senator.
All right, and then
I would take issue with that simply because he had double-digit opponents.
Right.
And in order to go ahead and come across with 75% when you have 12, 13 opponents, that's quite challenging for anybody. He performed beautifully. I predicted that he was going to take it in the first. And I think our congressional district and our senators will do well for Louisiana going forward.
You all are with your state parties, Republican and Democrat. Was it crime? Was it the economy? Was it reproductive rights? What, after the dust is settling now, what were the big, we'll start with you, Mr. Batt, what was the big ticket item for Republicans?
I believe it was the economy and crime. That's it, across the board. And people are feeling it in their pocketbooks. People are getting concerned, just like we are here in New Orleans. Your head has to be on a swivel when walking to your car. And until we get that eradicated, not only locally, but on a national basis, it's going to stay front and center for everybody.
What were the big issues for the state Democratic Party? Obviously, you guys targeted some and then went after them in this election.
Well, again, voting rights, civil rights, women's rights, all on the ballot. The economy, of course, top of mind for voters. But what Republicans have proved is that they're hitting the Democrats on the economy, but when you ask them for their plan, they do not have one.
We have a plan.
Okay.
You got me to 10 minutes, I'll lay it out for you.
Right. I don't know if we have 10 minutes. We have about 60 more seconds here. I don't know if we have 10 minutes to go. But actually, we will come back to you all. I do have to wrap up. I wish we could talk for 10 more minutes to hear the Republican plan. Gina, Sulla, let's go back to you. We'll come back to these guys in just a couple of minutes.
Wait, what's the plan? I'm going to ask Mr. Batt what the plan is, so he better come up with an answer when we come back after the break. We want strategy and clear-cut plans, so we'll ask him that after the break.
All right, as we go to break, here's a look at some more of the amendments and how voters decided.
All right, another race we're watching closely. 2 Public Service Commission seats were up for grabs in the state this election. This race has been watched closely as the board regulates your utilities.
That's right, a checkbook issue. The commissioner in District 3 oversees utilities for people from Baton Rouge to parts of New Orleans. 4 candidates took on the incumbent Lambert Boissier. WDSU's Jennifer Crockett joins us live with the latest on this race. Jennifer.
Gina, Sulla, this race will not be decided tonight. This is headed to a runoff in December. We are just outside of the incumbent's campaign headquarters, Lambert Boissier. He has secured a spot in the runoff, but his challenger is yet to be determined. So what is the Public Service Commission? Well, it regulates utilities like private water systems, electricity, telecoms, those companies who've been sending you those sky-high utility bills recently. So let's take a look at the numbers. We have about 7 precincts still to report, and it's really too tight between second and third place to tell you who's going to be challenging the incumbent in December. Right now, Devontae Lewis has about 3,000 more votes than Gregory Manning, both waiting for more votes to come in out of New Orleans. We're going to wait as well to decide who will be the challenger in December. Boissier won outright on election night with 52% of the vote back in 2004 rather, and a whopping 75% of the vote in 2010. He ran unopposed in 2016, but as we know, a lot has changed since then, and change is exactly what the incumbent's challengers are promoting: more green energy and less storm-related cost passed on to customers. And I just for a second want to get into the nitty-gritty here, because I feel like that's really the tasty bits of election coverage. We have still about 7 precincts to report, a total of 185,000 votes already counted in this election. Consider that 6 years ago, not a single vote was cast in this race because Boissier ran unopposed. That is a clear message from voters saying they are not happy with their utilities and they want some change. Reporting live in New Orleans, I'm Jennifer Crockett. Back to you.
All right, Jennifer, thank you. Now let's take a look at some of the other races that we're covering, some mayor's races across the area. We have the mayor's race in Bogalusa. The incumbent has been ousted tonight. The winning candidate is Tyron Trong, it appears, with 56% of the vote. So there'll be new leadership in Bogalusa.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at another town here. Mayor Abita Springs. Daniel Curtis is the declared projected winner with 80% of the vote, and O.J. Pouncey got 20%, 100% of the precincts reporting for this race.
All right, continuing to look at mayor's races. This is in the village of Folsom. Lance Willey, the incumbent, re-elected with 74% of the vote, defeating challenger Susan Willie in this race.
All right, up next, we have another race we want to share with you. This is mayor for the city of Harahan, the incumbent once again, the Republican winning this race with 64% of the vote, and his challenger behind him with 36%.
All right, here's the mayor of Kentwood. That race, no one has gotten 50% of the vote, so that race appears to be headed for a runoff with Irma Gordon and is that Rochelle Bates with 35% of the vote, and Ms. Gordon with 41% of the vote. The mayor's race in Kentwood appears to be headed for a runoff.
And Gina, we've been watching so many races tonight, and one of the races we've been watching very closely is for State Senate District 5, previously vacated by Karen Carter Peterson, who left in April after admitting to her gambling addiction, admitting to using her campaign funds to feed that addiction. It's a very coveted district, and we saw Royce Duplessis and Mandy Landry jump in for this position. You've got some of the most important parts of New Orleans in this district with some of the key landmarks like the Caesar Superdome, Smoothie King Center, the Convention Center, Loyola University, Tulane University. It's a heavily Democratic area.
Certainly an important district when you talk about an economic driver for the state. We were just listening to our commentators talk. Here's the difference, though. While these candidates are basically alike on paper, they both Democrats have a very similar voting record, if you will, and had been longtime political allies. But once you start to kind of dig deeper into the numbers, you can get to where the differentiation may be. We heard our commentator, Jay Batt, said that Royce Duplessis was actually endorsed by the Republican Party, so any Republicans, maybe in Orleans Parish, he may have been able to pick up those votes, votes that Mandy Landry may not have benefited from.
Yeah, he's been picking up a few more endorsements the past couple of months. We've noticed. Here is a live look now at his watch party. We see he is on the podium speaking, so we're going to take a listen.
Campaigning, I'm a little tired of hearing myself speak. But I am beyond overwhelmed with gratitude. I am beyond overwhelmed with thanks and love as I look out into this audience of those who are here tonight, and as I think of all the people who contributed to this campaign. There really are no words to express what this journey has been, but I'll sum it up to say that back in April, I had no plan to be spending my summer, now fall, campaigning. And as I thought of what I might say tonight, I thought of one of my political heroes, my public servant heroes, Andrew Young. And he said that politicians should spend less time running and more time listening and praying and meditating and reflecting. And when this seat came open, I didn't automatically make the decision to run. It was important for me to listen.
Yeah, very happy Royce Duplessis there. He fought hard. He said he was doing grassroots, going door to door, and a very exhausting campaign, but he is nonetheless giving his victory speech. Right now, we're going to toss to Travers Mackle and our two commentators, and I'm going to begin with this question for Mr. J, because you mentioned character earlier, that the thing that separates these two candidates, Mandy Landry and Royce Duplessis, would have to be character and their integrity, because their predecessor admitted to misusing campaign funds. What will he have to do to restore that trust?
Well, first of all, we just heard an incredibly classy campaign speech and acceptance after winning. He gave credit to his opponent, which is the thing to do. Royce Duplessis has an open slate, a clean slate to change the district and eradicate the thoughts of Karen Carter Peterson and her misdeeds. I believe it'll be an opportunity for him to rise, and he'll do very well. Not only character, we talked about him having the same bio, if you will, as Mandy Landry. The other thing that separated him was personality, and I'm not suggesting by any means that Mandy doesn't have a good personality, but I think we just saw what a wonderful personality with charisma that translates to his constituents, and I think that might have helped pull him across the finish line as well.
And really quickly, these are your colleagues in the State House. Did he win this, or did Mandy Landry lose this?
Well, look, both candidates ran a great campaign, extremely strong, but no one can discount Royce Duplessis as a class act. And he ran a very well-rounded campaign. He didn't go after one particular base. He went after the entire District 5. And one thing I know about Royce Duplessis, tomorrow morning, he's going to be working to unite Senate District 5.
All right. It's been an interesting conversation with both of you all. J-Bat, member of the Republican State Central Committee. Jason Hughes, member of the State Democratic Party. We appreciate your time all night. Gina Sella, let's send it back to you.
And by the way, I'm ready to go ahead and give you the plan anytime you want to have it.
Yes, I want to hear the plan. Give me the strategy. Thank you.
All right.